welcome to Mandobug Crafts, episode 68. What's up everybody? My name is Amanda, but you may know me as Mandobug on social media. And today, for something I've learned, I wanted to talk about nooking. Now, I haven't learned how to do it, but I have learned what it is. So if you're anything like me, you may have heard the term before, but didn't really know what it was. So I don't remember how I got into looking it up, but I was like, you know what, I wanna know, what is it? So if you don't know, it's basically crochet knitting. So it's a mix between knitting and hooking, nooking, right? But really, I mean, if you've ever seen those long crochet hooks with a hole in the end, that's what it is, which I kind of find funny because there's alternatives around that now if you really wanted to nook, which I have to go ahead and be honest and say I don't really see a point in nooking. Why wouldn't you just knit? I mean, I say that now because I'm a knitter, and maybe if you are a crocheter and for some reason don't want to learn to knit, you could nook, I guess. I don't know. Do any of you nook? I mean, but essentially it's kind of like you put yarn at the end of that hole to hold those stitches as you knit them, because when you're knitting you have live stitches, so you can use the string in the end of your hook to do that. But now they make hooks that attach to cables. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen the Addy the Addy click sets. They have Addy hook click sets where you can click hooks out of their interchangeable cables, so you could nook on that, or Tunisian crochet, or however, or at least from my understanding of nooking, you could. Maybe I misunderstood it when I watched the video on it. Feel free to correct me on that, because I am still learning. That's what this whole segment is about, is learning. I always try to better myself, learn a little bit more, and I try to share that with you guys as I learn things. So yeah, nooking, and probably not in my foreseeable future. Alright, moving on to finished objects. I have a few things. So I did finally finish my bandana cowl. This is a free pattern by Pearl Soho that I knit out of Haiku Simply Natural in one of the blue colorways. I think it's called, okay, no laughing, I don't know how to pronounce this word. It's the blue that starts with a C. You know what I'm talking about? Surreal? Sorry, no, it's not surreal. Oh my goodness. I don't know. I honestly have no idea. I'm gonna have to look it up after the podcast now. But it's the blue that starts with the C. You know what I'm talking about. But this cowl was a really nice pattern. The yarn drapes very well, as you can see, and it gives you this nice little shawlette kind of look, this bandana look, without being crazy bunched up on the back of your neck. So I'm very happy with the piece. I'm happy with how it fits. I'm happy with the drape, and I'm happy with the color overall. This was a very, I mean, it was a fast knit. I just was knitting other things, working on other projects, and that's why it took me so long. But had I dedicated myself solely, monogamously to this knit, it would have been super fast. I don't even think I used the whole hank. I got my own hair in my mouth. But yeah, super quick knit, didn't take a ton of yarn. It's a great gift knitting piece, but you know, I'm selfish, so this is mine. So yeah, one finished object, and then my other finished objects are yarn. So Tour de Fleece started, and I was so excited. So I started spinning the day before the tour started, and I just like, woo, got a ton of spinning done in that day. And then the first day, and the second day, and then the third day I barely got spinning in. And then the fourth day was the 4th of July, and I didn't spin at all. I am a total failure. Not only did I not spin on the 4th, I didn't spin on the 5th either. Not because I didn't want to, although had I wanted to bad enough, I would have made a point to at least do my 15 minutes, because if you can't put 15 minutes a day towards something, how much do you really care about it, right? On the 4th, I just put my time towards other things. So that's more chatty, so we can talk about that later. But yeah, so I'm a tour de fleece failure, but I did finish some yarn. So I finished spinning, and these are from the same bump. I got 2 loop bullseye bumps from Loop when I went to Maryland Sheep and Wool 4 years, oh my god, was it 4 years ago already? Maybe it was only 3. Anyways, no, it wasn't. There's no way it was 4 years ago. Emily was born. Okay, I don't know why I thought it was so long ago. Emily was like 4 months old, so it was like 2 years ago. But yeah, when I went to Maryland Sheep and Wool, I got a loop bump for me and a loop bump for her, and this was her loop bump. And loop bumps are very large. This one was just shy of 6 ounces. So I couldn't fit it all into one skein of yarn, and I'm surprised that I got as much on this bobbin as I did because my bobbins only hold 2 ounces. So this was the first one I spun. It is 2.25, oh, no. Did I write that? I put the wrong tags on them. This says 2.25 ounces. This says 3.6, but you know, I'm seeing a mistake here. So I'm going to have to switch these. This one is 3.65 ounces, 311 yards. And I'm leaving it as a single. So I spun it like literally just enough to keep it together. Because at one point it broke and then it just kept undoing itself and I was getting so mad. And you can see it still has a little bit of energy in it after I washed, felted, and thwacked it, but it's going to be fine. I mean, if you buy like Malabrigo worsted looks like this sometimes, where it has just that little bit of extra energy in it. Now, I was shooting for a fingering sport weight, but I have a feeling this is going to knit up thicker than that, despite the yardage that I got, right? So this was 225 yards. No, the tags are backwards. This was 311 yards. This was 225 yards. So I got like well over 500 yards out of the 6 ounces. So yeah, so I showed you that one. This one was the end of it. So that's 2.25 ounces, 225 yards. So they're really fun. It's going to be self-striping because I left it in the form of the loop boop. I left it in the form of the bump. So it's nice and bright and happy, and it's so fun to have Emily now because I loved this bullseye when I saw it, you know, because if you've ever been to a loop setup at a festival, it's just bullseyes everywhere and you're so overwhelmed. But I was in love with the colors in this one, but it's not something I would wear. And I'm a selfish knitter, so I'm always thinking about myself. I didn't think of anyone else, except now that I have Emily. Emily loves pink, and I was like, you know what? I will get the dark, gothy, rainbow one for myself, and Emily, I will get this one that I love the colors and do something for Emily. So I don't know what it's going to be yet, but it is nice to have it done. It is very squishy and soft, and I've lost the tag on it. I don't know the colorway, and I don't even know the content. I mean, I know it was merino. I just don't know if it was superwash or not. Oh, obviously it's not superwash because I felted it. So yeah. Yeah, that would have been funny to see if I tried to felt a superwash merino in the single ply process. That would have been really funny. I need to make sure that I don't try to do that in the future with superwash yarn because it's not going to work very well. Okay, so that's all of my finished objects. Moving on to works in progress. My poncho. So it's going to look like I didn't do anything, but I did. This is just my life attempting to be a designer. So right, doesn't it look the same as last week? I even have this little ball What? Where's the end? Where is the... Oh, the end's attached. And then I had connected this, and I've had to rip it all back out. So I was putting on the lace detail that I was talking about, or lacy detail, and I just did not love the corners. So whenever you're doing any sort of patterning and you have increased sections, you kind of have to plan that out. How are you going to increase in those areas in pattern, or are you going to add something plain in the corners, or, you know, you have to have a plan. I didn't have a plan, I just started going, and I ended up with these gaping holes in the corner. I thought, oh, well, I'll just chain 3 in the corner. But then the next time around, it needed to be chain 6. And then I ended up with a chain 9, which was just like these drastically larger holes, and I did not like the way it looked. So I ripped back and I left my first corner, which was a chain 3, but now on my second time around, I'm thinking about doing this kind of shell increase in the corner, and then going from there. And so that the next time I'll do posts around these two and then put a new shell in the middle of this shell, so it will shell out and kind of be like a purposeful V shell increase section instead of gaping holes. And I may be being overly critical of myself, but because I mean, it does take a lot for me to rip back. I hate ripping back, which I'm learning to get over. I just really didn't like it that much, so I put a lot of work in, and then I took all that work out, and now I gotta put more in. So that's where that is. That's if you don't know, that's a design well, you probably guessed now that you know that I'm ripping back. I'm designing that myself, and I'm using Haiku Simply Worsted in the gray sparkle, which I love, and maybe I'll get that done this week. I don't know, because I'm taking on a lot of new projects. So, for example, I started this today. I am making a swag bag. Yes. This is a Sue Spargo pattern. I talked about her a couple weeks ago because I got her creative stitching book, and I thought, oh, I will just do some stitches out of here. And then I was there's so much open-ended creativity in that book that I was like, I don't even know where to start. I don't even know what to do. So I ended up getting a pattern. And I mean, the pattern is a basis, right? You don't have to use the exact fabric, the exact stitches, but it gives me a starting point. So I got her pattern for the swag bag, and I wasn't sure about how I wanted to do it yet. And I'm gonna be honest, her wool is kind of expensive. For her fat eighth, it's like $12 or $13, and I was like, I don't know. So I ended up getting a scrap bag of wool. So Moda has these scrap bags, which I kind of went OCD on. They don't come in color order, they come like jumbled up, and I opened it and I wanted to see how many of what colors I had, and then I kind of put them in order. But I got this whole bag of scraps for 20 bucks. So I was like, you know, I feel like I can get more out of this. I can do more of the colorful applique versus like buying solid blocks of more expensive wool. I mean, I'll probably get there once I feel more confident in what I'm doing, but for now, I was like, I'll wait. So the swag bag pattern has you applique on the fat eighth of wool, but I don't have a fat eighth of wool, and I don't want to use cheap felt because it's not going to work, and I didn't want to sew my scrap pieces together, so I am going to be appliquing everything on top of just fabric. So I believe this is just, here, I'll show you what I've got started. This green, I believe, is just a solid cotton. It was a remnants cut that I got at a fabric store when I was living in Georgia, which I don't even remember what it's called anymore. Oh, Hancock. I got it at Hancock. It was a one of those remnants that are pre-cut and on sale. It said cotton, I think it said fashion cotton, like, so it's supposed to be for garments. So I am gonna start appliquing everything on here, and the pattern has you applique fabric and wool. So I'm starting to, oh, and ribbons. So I'm starting to applique the fabric and the ribbons. So the pattern says to just sew this stuff on top of your base piece, but it didn't say how. And so I'm guessing that she meant by machine, but I've been doing it by hand. I mean, I don't really think it matters. So I sewed down this plaid pattern, and I sewed down the ribbon next to it. And then I've got this batik fabric that I had in stash that I'm sewing down now, but I had to stop. You can see, I think right here, I had been sewing outside today, so it's pretty warm. I'd say it's in the upper 80s, and my kids wanted to play outside, but they were getting really hot, so I turned the sprinkler on, and I was watching them playing. It was really cute, and I was sewing. Next thing I know, I sewed my project to my shorts. What? I'm not putting it in a hoop or anything, I'm just kind of holding it. I find it easier to just hold the piece when you're going to do like a long running stitch, or even for kind of doing back stitching. And so I had it laying in my lap as I was doing it, and I must have caught my shorts. So I tried to unpick it from my shorts, but then Jack came over and he's like, Mom, up, up. I'm like, you can't get up, I can't get up. And so I was like, you know what, fine, I'll just cut it. And so I just cut it off of me so I could get Jack what he needed, and, you know, it's stitching. I can fix it. It's not a big deal. So I have some other ribbon planned out for this pattern that I really like. It's really cute. I don't remember. Why is this not focusing? I should probably grab all of the ribbon. Well, I guess there's only two you haven't seen. I don't remember. I think some of these may be Renaissance ribbon. Some of these may be Tula Pink ribbon. I think this one might be Tula Pink ribbon. But I don't have a tag for them. But yeah, so I've been working on a swag bag, and I think I'm going to be finishing that soon because I have been enjoying working on it and doing something different than usual. I mean, I do remember telling you guys I was getting the feeling of doing more spinning and more stitching, and well, here we are. So so speaking of stitching and spinning, my only other work in progress right now, not counting the starting point because I didn't touch it this week, is some more spinning that I've been doing, which I'm looking around because I'm like, where is it? So my spinning is on the wheel. I'm not going to touch it. I haven't done a lot, but I have been working on these dingo bats, and when I wrote that down on my show notes, I started cracking up because it sounds like dingbats. Dingo bats. Dingo was the name of the Jacob sheep. Ram? Maybe. Dingo was the Jacob sheep that I got this fleece from, and so they're dingo bats. And so it'd been a while since, oh, Jack's up, see, up, hey Bubba. So it'd been a while since I had used my drum carder for processing fleece. I've done it for blending, but it'd been a while since I've actually processed raw fleece on the drum carder, and I thought, oh, 2 times through the drum carder, it's going to be fine. And it looks fine. But as I'm spinning it up, I'm wishing I would have sent it through a 3rd time. Oh, I put all my bobbins in here because Jack, when I get my wheel out, he likes to play with the bobbins. So I was hiding them. Here, do you want a bobbin while we podcast? No? Oh, yeah? Okay. But I have, you know, of course it's dark brown in a black bag. I have so many of these carded bats. Well, not so many. I have 4. But it should get quite a bit of yarn. I should get quite a bit of yarn out of it. And I started spinning it thinking, I want a traditional 3-ply, maybe about a DK weight. But then I started spinning it, and I was like, whoa, that's super thin, and I'm afraid that it's more like a sport weight, which I don't want. So now I'm thinking, maybe I will do a 4-ply. Maybe. So I only have 4 bobbins for my wheel. The 4 that it came with. Which is why, one of the reasons I bought it, because most wheels only come with 3. but mine came with 4, but they are smaller. So I can easily do traditional 3-plies, but I got to thinking when I wanted to do a 4-ply, like, well, how am I going to do that? I don't have enough bobbins. Then I felt really stupid, because then I realized, well, I can just wind one of the bobbins off onto my ball winder and make a ball, and it can just sit on the side. I don't have a tensioned Lazy Kate. I put the plies in between my fingers and tension it with my fingers. So there's no reason I couldn't do a traditional 4-ply. The only thing I have to decide now is if I want to do a traditional 4-ply or if I want to do a cabled 4-ply. I don't know. I have never done either before, so my options are open. But yeah, so there are a little more bumps in this one that I pick out here and there. There's a little more veg matter than I'd like, but I think it's going to be okay, and I think in the end it'll wash out. So this is all of the dark off of the Jacob fleece, which you've ever seen I'm just tripping over my words today. If you've ever seen a Jacob sheep, they have white and dark brown spots, kind of like a cow. And so when I processed his fleece, I separated the dark, I separated the white, and then anything that I couldn't separate because it was touching, I left in its own pile. So I have all of this dark, I have a little bit of mixed that should come out in between a white and a dark brown looking blend, and then I have a ton of white. And I'm thinking, if I can try to spin them all the same weight, maybe a sweater, right? Maybe. One thing to note about this too is I left more lanolin in than I should have. I washed this fleece after I had processed a previous fleece and took too much lanolin out of it, and it was dry and I didn't like it, so I purposefully left more in, but this time I think I left too much in. But I think it will come out in the wash, right? Jack, what you got? I just gotta keep an eye on him, because I mean, you guys see this, which doesn't look so bad, but this is so bad. It's so bad. I still have to finish organizing. So yes, spinning. Even though I failed at Tour de Fleece, I'm going to continue on and try to do as much spinning as I can for the remainder of the tour. And although I haven't been actually watching the Tour de France, my dad loves it, and it's like his bucket list to go visit one day and be on a stage of the tour cheering on the side. So when I was talking to him this morning, he's like, yeah, did you see the fight? Did you see the crash? And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, look it up. I haven't looked it up yet, but I guess it was pretty brutal. The guy said he didn't push the other guy or elbow him, but I guess my dad said when you watch it, it's totally obvious, and he seriously hurt a lot of people. So I'm gonna have to check it out. So speaking of check it out, that's what's next. This is the end of my crafty content for this video, so if that is where you're checking out, I totally understand. I will see you later. I appreciate you either checking out my podcast for the first time, welcome, and also if you are a returning viewer, hi, I love you, as always. So if you're checking out, I will see you next week. If you're staying in this week for Check It Out, I started my class, and it is my first 400 level class. It's a 410, and it's critical thinking strategies for business. And besides my other assignments for this week, oh, I gotta get the tax from Emily, hold on. Emily, okay, well, we're gonna try to speed up the end of this podcast because they're both in here hanging out, and I just don't want them to get hurt. Besides my other assignments that I had to do, I had to take a Myers-Briggs test. I don't know if you're familiar with that or if you've ever taken one. If you haven't, I highly recommend it. I'll link to it in the show notes, which you can find a link to in the description of this video. I have never had a personality test define and describe me so accurately in my entire life. So I got the results of INFJ, which stands for Introverted, Intuitive, Feeling, Judging. And so, I mean, it completely describes how some people may think I'm an extroverted person, even though I'm an introverted person, because I have this need to sympathize with other people and have a deep connection with them. But I have this conflict that I can only handle so much social interaction at a time, so I deeply connect with a very small number of people because that's all I can handle, but it's what I need. It's a very interesting thing, and it talks all about that, and I was like, wow, that is so me. And it talks about how my personality type is a dreamer that is also practical, so they achieve a lot, but that dreamer makes them take on more responsibilities than they can handle. Also me. So if you have never taken a Myers-Briggs test, I definitely think you should look into it, and maybe you'll have the same experience as I did, where you're like, wow, that's me. I totally get it. For our class, we had to take it, tell everyone what our result was, and then describe our dream home with an $8 million budget. Of course, my practical side was like, I don't need $8 million. I want a 2,000 square foot rambler on as much land as I can have for sheep. Right? And I wrote that too. I haven't seen any of the classmates' responses yet, but I'm sure that will be fun. So yeah, check it out. If you've never taken a Myers-Briggs test, I will link to it. I think you should check it out. And then, for Let's Chat, kombucha. I bottled my first batch. Now, I totally meant to have Josh record me doing it, but I got too excited. So, Josh normally gets off early on Fridays, but, so he sells cars. If he's working a deal, he has to stay. And Friday, he had to stay. And so I was like, oh, darn, well, I can't wait. So I bottled my batch anyways, and I bottled it too early. I did. I thought I had tasted it just right, and it was ready. Now that it's bottled, I think that it was just a little too soon. And so this next batch, I'm going to run till it tastes more tart. This one still had a hint of sweet. And then when I bottled it, I added apple and ginger. So I had made applesauce out of some Honey Crisp apples I had, or maybe they were Pink Lady. They might have been Pink Lady. So I made applesauce out of the Pink Lady, and I had put it in the freezer. And so then I had de-thawed it, put it in the blender with some grated ginger, and put it in the bottom of the bottles. Bottled the kombucha, put it in my cupboard for a couple days, and then put it in the fridge. It's, like I said, it's good, it's just still a little sweet. It's more sweet than I would have liked it, even though it still has the kombucha flavor. I've been enjoying it, so that's been going well. This next time I bottle, I'm going to try to get Josh to record it so I can share the footage with you guys, because I think you might find it interesting to see. I should be doing my cherry lime mix. I had some cherries that were ready to be eaten and we couldn't eat them fast enough, so I pitted them and blended them and added some lime juice, and I froze that, and that's currently de-thawing. Are you guys sharing? Come here. So, I will share that with you when I do that. And, what, Jack? What do you want? So other than that, we did celebrate the Independence Day, the 4th of July, here in the States. We went to my dad's house, and that's why I didn't spin. That's right, I was going to tell you. So I ended up being the one to cook and bring all of the food. Well, they cooked the burgers, but I'm sorry, because I can't podcast when the kids are up. So Emily's just repeating what I say. When the kids are up. Okay, Jack, you want to say bye-bye? Come here, come say bye-bye. Come on, we'll say bye-bye and then you can have some dinner. Alright, I'll put in some pictures of the 4th of July at the end of the podcast, and we'll call that good, right? I gotta take care of these little guys. But I am glad I got to stop in here for a little bit before Jack woke up. So I will see you guys next week. Until then, happy crafting. Bye!